The Galactic Council chambers had never been so silent. Representatives from 7 major empires sat frozen in their crystalline seats, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensor arrays all focused on the human woman standing in the center of the hall. She wore neither armor nor ceremonial robes, just a simple black dress that seemed to absorb the chamber's ethereal lighting, and a silk scarf that moved with no discernible breeze. Ambassador Zixith of the Hegemony was the first to find his voice, his translator struggling with the clicks and whistles of his native tongue. Impossible. The records state that Queen Isabella Voss died 3 centuries ago during the Terran exile. The woman smiled, and several delegates instinctively reached for their personal shields. Death, she said softly, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber without amplification, has always been a negotiable concept for my family. Admiral Kaithvar of the Dominion leaned forward, his 4 eyes narrowing. The humans were banished from this galaxy. Their primitive vessels could never have survived the void between star systems, let alone returned here. Primitive? Isabella's laugh was like silver bells mixed with the whisper of a blade being drawn. You speak of the same species that turned your impenetrable fortress world of Maktar into glass with a single ship, Admiral. The same species whose queen, my grandmother, made your predecessor kneel and beg for mercy before the assembled fleets of 13 empires. The Vorthak representative, a creature resembling a living mountain of stone, rumbled in its deep voice. That was before we understood human deception, before we learned to counter your unpredictability. Isabella walked slowly around the circular chamber, her heels clicking against the polished floor. With each step, holographic displays throughout the room began flickering, showing star maps, fleet positions, and classified communications. Counter us? She mused, pausing before the Eternal Empire's delegation. Tell me, Archon Valseth, how goes your war with the rebel sectors? The one that's been raging for 47 standard years now? The ethereal being shifted uncomfortably in its energy field. That conflict is under control. Under control, Isabella repeated, her silk scarf rippling. Your fleets are stretched thin across 17 systems. Your supply lines are failing. Your allies are beginning to whisper about succession. She turned to address the entire council. All of you. Your empires are crumbling from within while you waste resources on external conflicts. Delegate Prime Ix Nola of the Trade Federation spoke up, her metallic voice modulated with barely contained fear. What do you want, human? Your species was exiled for good reason. You were too dangerous, too unpredictable to exist alongside civilized species. Isabella's smile widened. Civilized? You enslaved entire populations. The hegemony still uses forced labor camps. The Dominion executes dissenters by the millions. The Vorthak treats sentient species like livestock. She gestured dismissively. We were exiled because we refused to bow to your definition of civilization. You were exiled because you were conquerors. Admiral Kethver snarled, rising from his seat. Your kind spread across systems like a plague, consuming resources, starting wars. We were explorers, Isabella corrected, her voice hardening like steel. We were builders. We were the species that offered alliance before conquest, trade before war, until you taught us that in this galaxy, power is the only language that translates correctly. The chamber's lights dimmed, and new holographic displays materialized around Isabella. They showed human settlements, not the scattered colonies the Council remembered, but sprawling megacities, vast shipyards and fleets that stretched beyond the edge of the holoprojector's range. 300 years in exile, Isabella continued, walking back to the center of the chamber. 300 years to grow, to adapt, to learn. Do you know what we discovered in the dark between galaxies? That we were never alone. That there are others who remember the old ways, who remember when cooperation meant something more than temporary ceasefire. Ambassador Zixith's translator crackled as he spoke rapidly in his native tongue. Impossible. Our deep space sensors would have detected any significant human presence. Your sensors, Isabella interrupted, were built with technology we shared with you 4 centuries ago. Did you really think we stopped innovating? She raised her hand, and the silk scarf around her neck began to shimmer and change, transforming into what looked like liquid starlight. It flowed across her body, revealing intricate patterns of circuitry woven into the fabric itself. This scarf was woven from quantum silk produced in the neutron forges of Andromeda. The thread count is measured in dimensions, not millimeters. Your most advanced sensors register it as empty space. She gestured to her dress. This fabric is infused with micro-nanites that could disassemble this entire station at the molecular level. But I wore them as accessories because I wanted to show you something. The delegates were now openly reaching for their emergency beacons, but Isabella continued as if they were discussing the weather. Humanity has returned not for conquest, but for conversation. We offer the same choice we offered 4 centuries ago, alliance or isolation. But this time the terms are different. The massive viewports around the chamber began to shift, revealing not the expected view of local space, but an armada that stretched to the horizon. Ships of impossible design hung motionless in formation, some sleek as blades, others organic-looking as if grown rather than built, all of them bearing the crowned rose insignia of the House of Voss. "You have 72 standard hours to decide," Isabella said, her voice now carrying the weight of absolute authority. "Those who choose alliance will find humanity to be generous allies and fair trading partners. Those who choose isolation—" She smiled, and for a moment the delegates could see the ghost of the conqueror queens of old in her expression. "Will be left to solve their problems alone." The Queen of Humanity turned and walked toward the chamber's exit, her footsteps echoing in the absolute silence. As she reached the threshold, she paused and looked back over her shoulder. "Oh, and council members? When you send your reports to your respective governments, please ensure they understand one thing clearly." Her silk scarf fluttered like a banner in a breeze that existed only in higher dimensions. "The exile is over. The forgotten have returned. And this time we're not asking for permission." As the doors sealed behind her, the 7 most powerful empires in the galaxy sat in stunned silence, finally understanding why their ancestors had whispered her family name in the dark corners of history. The Queen had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same.